Welcome to a new episode of Sustainability Cafe. I'm Kirtana, and on this show, we have been dwelling into the professional journeys of environmental leaders in the Middle East, where they have been exploring their insights and experiences in waste management, recycling, and sustainability. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Salman Abdulla, Executive Vice President of ESG and Sustainability, Emirates Global Aluminium. Salman, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Looking back on your 40-year career, you started off as an engineering apprentice with Dubal to becoming a top executive at EGA. How would you describe this career journey? And can you reflect on your personal and professional growth throughout this experience?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. And this is something I want our young people to hear out from me. When I started at EGA, almost 40 years ago, at that time was called as Dubai Aluminium or Dobal. I joined as a non-supervisory apprentice, and the first few years we were just learning about machining, welding, and metalworks. And that laid down the foundation of my engineering career. So I was so intrigued that I wanted to go at a higher level, and I applied for the scholarship at Dobal, and I was extremely fortunate that I got the scholarship. I went to UK, got my A levels done, and after that I did my honors degree in electrical engineering. When I came back to, at that time, Dobal, we were building and extending on the power plant, so I developed a big skill sets on power plant construction, maintenance, and operation. And honestly, after several years spending in the operational area, in the technical field, I really felt a little arrogant. And I thought, I know everything there is to know. And of course, because of my deliverables on the projects, on the maintenance and operation, I was promoted to general manager. And there I used to sit with the executive team, with the CEO, with the CFO, with the marketing people, and I was really disappointed because they never used to ask me anything about the power plant. Okay. And that's all I knew. And at that time, I realized that the career progression, the knowledge learning, what I've done is amazing, but that's not enough. So I embarked myself on a master's program for business administration. And having finished that, I became the chief operating officer for our Emal site in Abu Dhabi. And we delivered one of the biggest spot lines in the aluminum industry. And at that time, I really felt arrogant that now I know everything. Yet, one fine day, my mentor and my leader, Mr. Abdullah Kalban, our managing director, called me in his office and he says, Salman, we want you to have a look at the ESG matters, which includes environment, people, and well-being of everyone in the plant and on the planet. Yeah. And once I went into that direction, I realized I know nothing about the real world. So,
which year was this? Do you
so this was in 2014.
I see. Okay.
This was in 2014. And this is when I was promoted to the executive level. So the messaging is that on the journey of your career, on the journey of learning and developing, there is no end line. You have to keep moving forward because the more you find, you realize the less actually is what you know. And stay humble and don't be shy to say and ask questions of what you don't know about. So this has been a learning curve to find out that actually we all know very little.
I would like to know more about your journey in ESG and leadership and how you manage your people in the interview later. But before that, I would like to understand, like you mentioned, you had the opportunity to explore uncharted territories.
Correct.
Like you led industrial projects, plants, from concept to implementation.
Correct.
And then you oversaw health, safety, and sustainability initiatives. Can you talk about some of your proud moments in your career?
So, I mean, one of the proudest moments from the perspective of ESG is back in 2001, we converted our turbine fleet to low NOx burners. What does that mean? It means the emissions which comes out of the chimney will have absolute minimum nitrate oxide.
Okay.
This was in 2001, and at EGA we have an environment where you can really, even if it is not an issue with P&L, with profit and loss, but it's purely for environmental reasons, we have a leadership where it allows us to achieve that. When I tell the people this story, this was before any regulation, this was before any GHG reduction. So this was really taking care of the people around us, because the nitrate oxides impact the whole environment around the plant. And so this was a very pivotal moment for me to be growing up with an organization which cares for everyone else so much that we are spending significant amount of money
Yeah.
for no return on the financial scorecard. So this was a very learning moment for me about what United Arab Emirates is, and organizations in United Arab Emirates, how they think and reflect the mindset of the country's leadership.
Right. It's interesting that back in 2001, now everybody is talking about environment, and it is now becoming a business imperative.
Yes.
And it has actually become a buzzword where it is cool to say that we are sustainable.
Exactly.
But back in that 2001, it's really visionary of the leadership, I feel. And you have had a very dynamic career.
Correct.
What lessons have you learned? And could you summarize
Sure.
some of
So,
them?
as I mentioned earlier on, I went from an apprentice all the way to the general manager of the
Yeah.
power plant, where we used to build large power stations, and from their large operations, the most important thing is to remain authentic with the people, say what is in your mind, play with a straight bat. You will find that people automatically attract and want to help you win. If you present yourself as a Mr. Know-it-all, then an unintended consequence of that is, because you project that I know it all, people may be reluctant or overwhelmed to come and give you some new ideas. Whereas if you are open to suggestions, if you're open to listening to people, they will give you the best advice. So even if you are the top tier of the organization, you need to keep an ear at the ground floor and listen to them. And we have a tradition at EGA of our suggestion scheme and various ways of innovation where we trust our people more than anybody else, because they know what the job is. They know it exactly how it should be done and how it could be improved. So this is a takeaway which I have seen, that every time you are open to people, whether it's a technical front, whether it's a social improvement, whether it's an environmental impact, listening to the people and peers makes you go forward at highest propulsion possible.
Right. Let us talk about some of the sustainability initiatives of EGA. EGA is the world's largest producer of premium aluminium, and it has a strong ambition to become a responsible metals and mining company in the world. So can you talk about some of the decarbonization efforts that are being taken, and there are some net zero commitments as well? Could you talk about them?
So EGA has completely aligned itself to the UAE 2050 vision, where we will be decarbonizing our business in line with the guidance from the ministry. It's easy to say, very challenging to make. And let me tell you some of the challenges the primary aluminium producers face. So we are a energy intensive industry, which means we need a lot of energy to produce 1 piece of, or 1 kilogram of aluminium. We are extremely fortunate that at EGA we have our own technology. It means we are constantly improving our technology to reduce the emissions from all over the plant. Let me give you one example. at this moment in time, or due to the innovations which EGA has done, we are approximately 41% below than the global average of carbon emissions,
Nice.
which is quite remarkable. And I think this would have not been possible if we had not developed our own R&D muscle. We run our own technology, and then the next step for decarbonization is the electrical power, which I said this is quite an energy intensive industry. Over here, we have always gone for the most efficient engines. In 2000, the engines I spoke to about, which we reduce the nitrate oxide from, is called an E-class engine.
Okay.
So, but as the time progressed, we bought more and more high efficient engines. Today, our H block at Jebel Ali Power Station is the most efficient engine in the whole of the UAE. So this way, the intensity of producing aluminium is constantly brought down at EGA. So this is some of the decarbonization aspects which we have achieved. So improving the technology, fine-tuning it, and buying the most efficient gas turbines. But then that's not enough. The next step of it is decarbonization through recycling. Aluminium is an amazing material. Once it is produced, it could be recycled forever. The challenge here is to collect the aluminium. In the GCC, only 50% of the aluminium is captured and comes back into the recycling. The other 50%, unfortunately, is either disposed of, it's got lost in the landfills, or is exported. EGA is the first large bases going to install the recycling plant in our Tawila site. It's about 170,000 per annum. Now, you might think, but Salman, because only 50% is recycled, that's not a very good thing. But actually, we see this as an opportunity. Because if today we can recycle 170,000 ton, and if we put social initiatives for people to collect it more responsibly and get it back to the recycling plants, it means that 170,000 ton can double in the coming years because of recycling improvements which takes place in our society. Yet one more item which we are doing, and we are extremely proud of it, is our Celestial product. Celestial is aluminium which is made out of solar energy. UAE is the first country in the world which has utilized the power of the sun to make primary aluminium. And of course, it's got a very, very low carbon footprint. When we mix this with the recycled metal, the carbon footprint is one of the lowest which anyone on the planet can make. And for that reason, we have one of the most niche customers which takes all that material. For example, BMW, and we are in the supply chain for people like Tesla and Mercedes and Nissan.
So you were talking about the collection challenges, and I believe EGA is also leading a coalition of brands and waste management companies and recyclers. Can you give us some insights into that? How that is helping you in collection and recycling processes?
Yeah, so we don't directly do collection. But we provide incentives to the people. We provide platforms. So this coalition is actually called Aluminium Recycling Coalition, or ARC. ARC is like the savior for everyone. And so we do a lot of educational program, and we have entered into partnership with many major beverage can producers, so that together we can find ways and innovate ways in which the collection rate within the GCC and particularly in the UAE could be increased. So this is a drive to not only we expertise in the technical front, but also on the social front, because collection, proper sorting, at our homes, in our schools, at the shopping malls, is a big part of our CSR initiative, which is led by some of the amazing people at EGA. And this is how we are encouraging people to do more collection, so people like ourselves and others could recycle it.
Right.
However, we don't stop at that either. We have been engaging with the recyclers in the UAE to increase their standards. So that could be part of our value chain as well. So we're incentivizing people that if you improve your recycling methodology, that gives an opportunity and you bring up your standards so you could be in our supply chain.
So transitioning to a low carbon operations can be challenging as well as an expensive affair. What advice would you give to businesses who are trying to transition to low carbon operations and break these hurdles that is cost wise and other challenges?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, decarbonization of the electricity is an extremely expensive venture, and businesses on themselves, even a large business like Emirates Global Aluminium, it's challenging to decarbonize. So when you have gas turbines, it takes a very small footprint. But let's say if you want to go to solar parks, that requires a humongous amount of land and the connections and so forth. So for this reason, we at EGA are relying on the solar parks, which the government's different utilities are developing in the UAE. You ask me what advice I will give to the businesses is reach out to these entities in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and in the other Emirates, and see how you can get a piece of that clean power in your business. Because the more the demand, the more people ask, the more incentive is for the utility companies to invest that.
Yeah.
If you're not going to ask for that, then it becomes more challenging. But rather than trying to do it yourself, engage with your partners. That's on the electricity part. On the other side, my advice will be to look at efficiencies. So if you are a construction company, a property developer organization, design your properties with materials which conserve energy. So there should be no leakages of heat coming in, and then you need to run your air conditions more and more, requiring even more electricity. So whatever business you are in, so we all will rely in the future on the grid to give us renewable and clean carbon power. But internally, all businesses, whether you are a trucking company, whether you are a developer, or whether you are an aluminum producer, have a look at your internal processes and see how you can build in efficiencies in there.
Right. You mentioned about EGA promoting recycling. What is driving this push? Is it a business opportunity or consumer demand, or is it regulatory pressure?
It's all of it, but above all, it's the value within EGA that one of the most important things to understand about recycling, I already mentioned that aluminum once produced could be infinitely recycled, that it actually takes only 5% of electricity which is required to produce primary aluminum. So if you're recycling, you need only, so you save 95% of energy in the recycling process. So for us, that's a key driver, because being a responsible producer, that alone is enough for us to go for it. However, there is more and more regulations coming within the UAE and on the international front. But there's also industrial bodies like Aluminium Stewardship Initiative, or ASI, which have set standards. So while you're trying to meet the regulation, you are going more towards compliance. ASI is slightly different. It's not just a matter of compliance, but it's a matter of how its members can improve their performance on all ESG matters. So there's compliance related issue which normally is in the regulation, but here we are partnering with people like ASI who look at performance improvement, and that's why the standards will be revised on a regular basis and become tighter and tighter, so the members can aim for higher and higher amount of sustainability in their business.
Can you give us any update on the aluminum recycling facility that EGA is setting up in the UAE?
Yes, so I mean, this has been announced. We are setting up one of the largest recycling plant in the Gulf area, which will be around 170,000 tons, which is really remarkable. And it will have possibility of further expansion as more recycled content become available.
Okay. In one of our conferences last year, you had highlighted the importance of responsible sourcing and also compliance with ASI. What would be your message to recyclers, metal recyclers who would like to work with EGA in the process?
The message is very clear. We are premium aluminium producer, and that's why people like BMW and other high niche market brands like to have our metal, but we cannot have in our supply chain irresponsible sourcing. It's called in ASI language COC, or chain of custody. It means the whole from where the raw material is coming, or from where the the scrap material is coming, all the way till it reaches to our gates, and we do value added to that product, and then how do we ship and transport it to the customer. This whole value chain has to be at the highest possible standard. So aluminium is an amazing material, but it has to be produced and procured in a responsible manner as well. And this is really a core value for EGA. I'm personally very open to go and talk to anyone who wants to reach out to us as how they can improve on environmental front, on social front, or on the governance front. It's very important that we up the game, not of only ourselves, but all our suppliers.
Right.
And that's why the chain of custody from ASI, this is where it merges together, that not only you're improving your performance, but you're incentivizing your suppliers to improve their performance as well.
Right. EGA is also pioneering the use of SPL. Can you elaborate on that project?
Sure. So just for the audience, SPL stands for spent pot lining. This is the material which comes out when electrolytic cells come to the end of its life. Now, normally it has carbon material in it. However, because it's been electrolyzed and has seen a lot of chemicals, there's a lot of hazardous material in it. And for the aluminum industry, the correct management of spent pot lining was a seriously difficult matter. We engaged with universities all around the world to find solution, and together with MIT, we carried out a research product which demonstrated that if the spent pot lining is sent to the cement industries and they take a portion of it and mix it with their raw material, not only their energy requirements comes down, which means a right away immediate energy reduction to produce cement, but also the material they get from the quarry comes down, because SPL, if you put side by side the SPL ingredients and what comes out of the quarry and what needs to be brought in for energy production, the SPL is an amazing material. Even though it's a waste product for us, it's an amazing feedstock for industries like cement. So, of course, it's a material coming out of the aluminum industry, it's waste stream, so I will say it's amazing, but these are published papers and they've been published in peer-reviewed journal, and very proud to say we have won many awards for having this work done at an industrial level. So we have solved one of the biggest challenges of the primary aluminum world, which is the proper management of the spent pot lining.
Right. So seeing waste as a resource rather than...
Absolutely.
Yeah. Congratulations on pursuing a doctorate in business administration with a focus on leadership construct. What is your leadership style?
My leadership style, I don't know. I mean, it will be difficult for me to talk about it, but I will talk a few characteristics which I think we should try and develop more. The first and foremost, don't be scared or concerned about asking and telling your audience, hey, I don't know the answer to that question. Let me get back to you. For me, if I ask a question of someone and they always have a ready answer, it kind of frightens me. Say, what are you, an encyclopedia? So I personally get attracted to people who every now and then can say, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to it. Let me get back to you. I think that brings in a feeling of trust and integrity that the person is not just going to give the answer to everything. Hey, I really don't know. So I would say, I don't know what my style is, but I find some of these characteristics extremely attractive. The second one is play always with a straight bat. Always just, and I particularly have a very bad memory, so I just tell the way it is, and sometimes it comes a little too assertive for some people, but I think you need people to openly talk about the challenges you are facing as an organization, as a team leader, or even as a subordinate. Sometimes you may be given directions and instructions to go in a certain direction, and if you don't believe in that, that this is not the best for the organization, then you should be able to manage your boss as well by playing with a straight bat and being, as much as possible, being brutally honest and authentic about it. So these are some of the characteristics which I think I like to mimic. But it's really down to the others to say what is my style of leadership.
Do you think that being vulnerable as a leader would create an insecurity in you, and will you feel that you are less of a leader when you are showing your vulnerability?
I can see what you mean. For many people, that may be true. And yes, I mean, you're sitting at a senior executive level, or you're sitting at the head of any committee, and people may perceive that because if I don't know, how would other people see? For me, somehow, somewhere in my career, it's more important for me to be honest and straight and say, that's a great point. I didn't know about it. That has helped me improve my knowledge. Or, hey, can you explain this a little bit more? Or saying, I don't know about this and I'll get back to you. So for me, I don't feel insecure at all. Like literally, shamelessly, I ask questions. Hey, buddy, I don't know the answer to your question. Help me improve my knowledge.
Okay.
It may be challenging at the beginning, but if you do it a couple of times, you will find you actually learn more by saying, I don't know.
Actually, that will inspire more people to take up leadership roles as well, I feel, rather than showing yourself as the know-it-all.
Yes. There are certain circumstances, especially at a time of crisis.
Yeah.
God forbid some family has a crisis and the leader of the house is saying, hey guys, I don't know what to do. Can you please help me, to the kids? So there are certain situations where you have to just get
Buckle
on
up.
with it.
Yeah.
But in the normal circumstances, be open, be authentic, be honest.
Wonderful. That's a good message for the audience. So sustainability is not just about environment, it's also about people. In one of your articles, you had mentioned that every organization, everybody in an organization has the potential to innovate. What advice would you give to business leaders on inspiring their workforce to tap into that potential?
My view, and as you mentioned in the article, I mentioned that innovation could take place at every level of the organization. Based on this belief, we have a system at EGA at the shop floor level for the people who are the operators and the supervisors of the industrial plant. These are the people who know the plant better than anyone else. How does it perform? How efficiently it runs? What improves or reduces the productivity in it. So we have a program which is self-regulated by the shop floor, where the suggestions come in and they challenge each other as to which is the best suggestion for improvement, and that suggestion goes forward, gets implemented, and people get real rewards, both monetarily as well, more importantly, recognizable rewards of coming and being advertised as our leaders at the innovation level. So this is one type of innovation which happens at that level.
Right.
The next level of innovation which can happen is cross-functional. So one department, let's say, is sending boxes in Amazon to another department where they're filling it up. Now they might be sending too much of it or too little of it. And cross-functional innovation, rather than saying this is my standard way of working, I'll just keep making boxes and sending it to these guys, they may not have enough orders. So by cross-functional, you can innovate and help your organization move forward. So that's more team-based innovation.
Right.
The third level of innovation is the breakthrough innovations, which does require at a higher level and significant amount of research and development. This is the knowledge breakthroughs which has not been discovered yet. Let me give you an example. We built our refinery, alumina refinery in Abu Dhabi. So we get the bauxite from overseas. This bauxite has to be mixed with caustic soda, and then through the various processes, we extract alumina from it. Now, when the alumina is extracted, this material has a lot of caustic soda. And the world produces, the aluminum refineries produce more than 150 million tons of this material, and only 2% is recycled or is toxicity is removed, but only for 2%. So through R&D process, EGA has managed a patented methodology by which the caustic of it could be removed, and you have the original soil left. This helps you to manufacture soil. So people are surprised when we tell them that at EGA we have a pilot project running of manufacturing soil in the UAE, both by using this material and the local sand from the UAE. We call this product turba. And this is a huge breakthrough innovation within the aluminium industry. So you see, you can have innovation at the shop floor level, you can have it cross-functional level, and you can have it at the top level where a significant amount and time is required for R&D, piloting the project, and then converting it to a commercial product.
Right. This soil can be used for growing plants or something?
Absolutely. This is soil. Yeah, this is we have grown a large amount of plants and grass and greenery based on this material. So this is a made in UAE soil.
Really?
In the middle of a desert. You better come and see it. It's amazing.
It's already in production, is it?
We are now building a commercial size plant to do it on a much larger scale.
Okay. Nice.
But yes, we have been very successful at the lab level. We have tested it, and yes, it's been done. The breakthrough technology has been produced.
Oh, awesome. So how do you see the future of metals and mining industry? In next 5 to 10 years, how do you see the industry growing, especially in the sustainability context?
So this is a very important topic, and metals and minings, packaging, transportation. We as consumers needs to become more and more aware of which are the materials we should shy away from. I don't want to take the name of any materials that they still haven't found recycling processes, but I can talk about from an aluminium point of view. There is a significant amount of work, and I'm telling you, significant amount of work being done in Europe, in the US, here in the Middle East, how to decarbonize it, how to make it more sustainable. And in 5 to 6 years, you will see the aluminium, which is infinitely recyclable, its carbon footprint is going to reduce, because there are serious people, organizations like International Aluminium Institute, like ASI, like ourselves, and working together to find solutions. So the consumer has to be now demanding what product they want. They must demand the chain of custody, that nowhere in the supply chain there are any transgressions like modern slavery or irresponsible production or irresponsible sourcing of material, not taking care of the indigenous people, for example, because mining requires a large surface mining, because bauxite mining is quite different from others where you dig deeper holes. This is on the surface, but it means a lot of people may get displaced, and particularly the indigenous people are the most vulnerable one. And through ASI, EGA is involved in working on making sure that the indigenous people in India, and even Australia, and in African countries are taken care of. So the better material will succeed only when the consumer know more about it and they demand sustainability throughout the supply chain of that material.
Right. Salman, one of the objectives of this podcast is to inspire more and more people to tread the path of sustainability. What would be your advice to professionals or youngsters who want to enter the field of environmental sustainability?
Okay, some people is not going to like this answer, but the first thing is differentiate what is noise and what is real. You hear a lot of people talking about a lot of things on the front newspapers and all that. This is like kind of greenwashing. Many people like to make a lot of announcement with really no meat in it. So the first thing for the young people is know the difference. Second, get educated on the topic. There is many aspects in sustainability. We talked about decarbonization, but what we also need to talk about is climate adaptation. And different people have different understanding of climate adaptation. Some people think, the water level will rise and, we just have to build barriers. Or some people might think, the temperatures will be high, so I need to buy more air conditioners. No, there could be significant health-related issues. So the climate adaptation is a whole field where not many people are paying attention to. So if you want to go into sustainability, the obvious ones are decarbonization, sustainable sourcing, both on E, on S and G perspective, but also getting the next generation ready for climate adaptation, because it is going to change. We are already seeing unprecedented storms, rainfalls, and all kind of natural disasters at a much higher frequencies. Lyme disease, for example, in the south of Canada, once upon a time was unknown. But as the main predator, because slight increases in average temperatures went up, they moved up north, and it created Lyme disease issues in that part of the world. So for the young people, it's a huge canvas. Get into it, learn the science behind it, and do your bit. No bit is small enough. Whatever you can do, put your bit in, but stay away from big announcements without really any material to show.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. On that note, Salma, it was a pleasure talking to you.
Likewise.